19 years ago, my son was 5 months old, and I was exhausted as a new mom, and I just was having these weird symptoms, and I just thought I was tired. And I think the thing that really set it off for me that something was wrong, I sat down to try to tie my shoes, and I just couldn't. I just could not figure out how to tie my shoes. And I looked up at my husband and said, something is really wrong. I think I need to go to the hospital. And he said, why? And I said, I just cannot figure out how to tie my shoes. So we went to the emergency room in a very small town in North Georgia. They didn't even have an MRI. They had a CAT scan, and they came back to me and said, we see a spot on your brain. And I said, a spot? A spot? What does that mean, a spot? And they said, there is some bleeding on your brain. And I said, okay, what does this mean? And they said, well, we don't really know because we don't have an MRI. We're going to send you to another hospital. The best they could tell me was, once the blood reabsorbs, hopefully we'll be able to see behind it. So I get back home, I'm sitting on the floor holding him because I didn't know if my arm would give out and I didn't want to drop him. And I'm reading him Winnie the Pooh. And there's a quote from Winnie the Pooh that says, you have to be stronger than you believe, braver than you think. And I can't remember the exact quote now, but I read that to him. And, it says, if there's ever a time that I'm not with you, know that I will always be with you. And I thought I wanted him to know that I would always be with him, even if I wasn't here. But then I thought to myself, well, I have to be braver than I think and stronger than I believe so that I can beat this, so that I can be here with him. Fast forward a little bit, this happens all over again. I'm sitting on the sofa. I feel this wave come over. My arm just drops again, becomes paralyzed again. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is happening all over again. Again, I'm fortunate. I'm at my mother's house. I walk back to my bedroom, lay on the bed, scream for my mother to come to the back. Unfortunately, my son was in the room, and I have my first grand mal seizure. It took me a long time to get diagnosed. It took me probably 2 years to get proper diagnosis. This time, I look it up on the internet, and lo and behold, I find Angioma Alliance, and I connect with Connie. And this is my opportunity to be stronger than I think I can be, and be braver than I believe I can be, and try to do something to help not only myself, but help other people. It's challenging, I think, for Black patients for many, many reasons. One is that a lot of times we tend to be uninsured, underinsured. Even when we are well insured, well educated, assumptions are made about us when we walk into a hospital. They'll never even go to a doctor and discuss these symptoms until they end up with worsening symptoms. And that is what we're trying to get at with breaking barriers and members of the Black community.